first contact with Joshua Pope.
Hello, Earthlings, and welcome to First Contact Radio. How you doing tonight? Glad that you could be here. Hope that all is well in your part of the world. Today is the last day of the month of June 2017, the very, very last day as we get ready to head into another month. A lot going on this month, right? A lot going on. So let's just kind of jump in, take a look at some of the things that have been dealt with. First thing I want to bring up and get into is the latest drop that was made by Project Veritas. This is something that I think that everybody should check out and see what this is all about. As you'll go through and you'll watch the video, you will see this producer on here right there. This producer, his name is Jimmy Carr, and Jimmy Carr, well, Jimmy Carr does not speak very kindly of the people that are out there as voters. He thinks people are really stupid, as he said, stupid as shit. And this is coming right from this guy right there. So on the tail of all of the other stuff that came out the other day, you had Van Jones, you've got Jeff Zucker running away, you've got this guy Jimmy Carr. Then later on in this tape, he's saying something about Kellyanne Conway, that her face looks like she was hit by a shovel. I mean, here you've got Mika and Joe and the rest of the media are crying, oh, you shouldn't say things about a woman, it's not right. And here's a guy from CNN saying something about a woman that is not very nice, and yet he's out there. So it's just hypocrites, hypocrites, hypocrites. But guess what? There are going to be more of these videos, according to Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. So stay tuned. We shall see more and more of what is going on with all of that. Very good. So now one of the things that we're hearing about is this story right here. This is the story of the unmasking in Susan Rice. And this is a situation that is playing itself out. So I wanted to revisit it so people can remember what's going on here. Susan Rice was not alone in unmasking Team Trump. As part of its daily wrap of the Susan Rice news flow, which focused on her first media appearance since she was outed as the persona responsible for unmasking members of Team Trump, the Wall Street Journal provides two new pieces of incredible, incremental information. In addition to Michael Flynn, at least one more member of Team Trump was unmasked in intelligence reports due to multiple foreign conversations that weren't related to Russia. And two, Susan Rice wasn't the administration official who instigated Mr. Flynn's unmasking, confirming there is at least one more high-level official giving unmasking orders. But first, a brief detour. Unmasking is the term used when the identity of a U.S. citizen or lawful resident is revealed in classified intelligence reports. Normally, when government officials receive intelligence reports, the names of the American citizens are redacted to protect their privacy, but officials can request that the names listed as U.S. Person 1, for example, be unmasked internally in order to give context about the potential value of the intelligence. Unmasking is justified for national security reasons, but is governed by strict rules across the U.S. intelligence apparatus that make it illegal to pursue for political reasons or to leak classified information generated by the process. It is the accusation that Rice unmasked members for purely political reasons, ostensibly in coordination with President Obama, that has gotten Republicans smelling blood in the water. Republicans have for weeks signaled that they saw unmasking as the key to investigating the source of the media, leaks damaging the Trump administration, such as the exposure of former Trump National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who was forced to resign in February after media reports revealed that he misled Vice President Pence about the conditions of his discussions with the Russian ambassador. To that end, earlier this month, Representative Trey Gowdy pressed FBI Director James Comey in a Public Intelligence Committee hearing. It would be nice to know the universe of people who have the power to unmask a U.S. citizen's name, because that might provide something of a roadmap to investigate who might have actually disseminated a masked U.S. citizen's name. He went on to press Comey on whether specific Obama officials, including Rice, would have had the authority to request that a name be unmasked. Yes, in general, and any other national security advisor would, I think, as a matter of their ordinary course of their business, Comey answered. Shortly thereafter, The Hill notes that Nunes made his shocking announcement that he, and he alone, has viewed documents that showed inappropriate unmasking by Obama-era officials. Today, Susan Rice came out to defend herself and told MSNBC that the allegation is that somehow Obama administration officials utilized intelligence for political purposes. Rice told Mitchell that's absolutely false. She added that the notion that some people are trying to suggest that by asking for the identity of the American person is the same as leaking it, well, that's completely false. There is no evidence between the so-called unmasking and the leaking. And yet that is precisely what many Republicans are suggesting, because otherwise there is no explanation for how the Washington Post and New York Times received on a virtual silver platter stories about Mike Flynn's communication with intel-level detail. Perhaps Rice is simply lying, as she lied on March 22nd, when in a PBS interview she said, "I know nothing about unmasking Trump officials." Less than 2 weeks later, we learned that she did. But perhaps there is more to the story than what we know so far. And this is where the Wall Street Journal comes in with the new information that, according to a Republican official familiar with deliberations by GOP lawmakers on the House Intelligence Committee, said that the names of 2 U.S. citizens who were part of Mr. Trump's transition team have been unmasked in intelligence reports. One is Mr. Flynn, and the other hasn't been identified. The report involving Mr. Flynn documented phone conversations he had in late December with the Russian ambassador to the U.S. The Wall Street Journal then reports that Rice had requested the unmasking of at least one transition official, not Mr. Flynn, who was part of the multiple foreign conversations that weren't related to Russia. And the punchline, the Republican officials and others said Ms. Rice wasn't the administration official who instigated Mr. Flynn's unmasking. In other words, the story that Susan Rice is the unmasker is incomplete, as there is at least one more person exposing the identities of people in Trump's circle, and that the NSA and other intel agencies have been surveilling, accidentally or otherwise, at least one so far unnamed individual from Trump's circle. It may be well that someone at the Washington Post and New York Times have already published about, or it may be someone who has yet to hit the newswire, delivering the latest twist of the ongoing intelligence-fed news cycle. For now, the answer is unknown, although when Rice testifies under oath before the House Intel Committee, we hope that all outstanding questions will finally get answers. Now, this article itself came out back on April 5th. Okay, there's another article here now. This House issues subpoenas to top officials related to Obama unmasking scandal. This was May 31st. The House Intelligence Committee issued 7 subpoenas today related to the Obama unmasking scandal. 7 subpoenas were issued by the House Intelligence Committee regarding Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election. The subpoenas are related to the illegal unmasking of political opponents by the Obama administration. According to the Wall Street Journal report, 3 of the 7 total subpoenas are regarding reports saying that members of the Trump team were identified in foreign surveillance reports and had their names unmasked. The Wall Street Journal reported the House Intelligence Committee issued 7 subpoenas on Wednesday in a sign that its investigation into alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 election is wrapping up in scope and intensity, according to people familiar with the matter. The Republican-led committee issued 4 subpoenas related to the Russia investigation. 3 subpoenas are related to the question about how and why the names of associates of President Donald Trump were unredacted and distributed within the classified reports by Obama administration officials during the transition between the administration. The committee has subpoenaed the National Security Agency, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Central Intelligence Agency for information about what is called unmasking. Republicans on the committee have been pushing for a thorough investigation of how the names of Trump campaign officials became exposed in the classified intelligence reports based off intelligence community intercepts. Those subpoenas seek information on requests made by former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former United Nations Ambassador Samantha Power for names to be unmasked in classified material. The three didn't personally receive subpoenas. The people familiar with the matter said Mr. Brennan, Ms. Rice, and Ms. Power didn't immediately respond to the request for comments. Okay, now let's look at one more, and this is something that, oh, so convenient. This came out on the 19th. The NSC won't fulfill the subpoena request for Susan Rice unmasking documents. Why? Because those records were moved to the Obama Library. Now, mind you, the Obama Library is not built yet. It's nothing more than a hole in the ground. But this is the excuse they're giving right now. Judicial Watch today announced that the National Security Council on May 23, 2017 informed it by letter that the materials regarding the unmasking by the Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice of the identities of any U.S. citizens associated with the Trump presidential campaign or transition team were removed government possession. The documents were moved to the Obama Library. Judicial Watch says the NSC will not fulfill an April 4th Judicial Watch request for records regarding information relating to people who were identified pursuant to intelligence collection activities. The agency also informed Judicial Watch that it would not turn over communications with any intelligence community member or agency concerning the alleged Russian involvement in the 2016 presidential election, the hacking of DNC computers, or the suspected communications between Russia and Trump campaign transition officials. Specifically, the NSC told Judicial Watch documents from the Obama administration have been transferred to the Barack Obama Presidential Library. You may send your request to the Obama Library. However, you should be aware that under the Presidential Records Act, the records remain closed to the public for 5 years after administration has left office. President of Judicial Watch Tom Fitton had this to say about the breaking news. Prosecutors, Congress, and public will want to know when the NSC shipped off the records about potential intelligence abuses by Susan Rice and others in the Obama White House to the memory hole of the Obama Presidential Library. We are considering our legal options, but we hope that the special counsel and Congress also consider their options and get these records. Okay, so how convenient, right? How convenient that the records just go to the library. Now, as I said, there isn't a library, but there is a Presidential Record Act which is protecting these, and so it's all a big game. President Trump can go and get these, but it's a big game, okay? Barack Hussein Obama, the ISIS leader who is and has brought great destruction to America, well, he's out there still trying to bring destruction to this country. He's not a fan of our country at all. He's a liar. And he's still trying to bring the country down. One of the things that I was reading, and I have to get a little more clarity on this, but it seems that he is still out on an extended vacation during the time when Susan Rice is going to give her testimony, and that in the area he is, there are those suggesting that he's there because he can't be extradited for any particular crimes. It wouldn't surprise me. Barack Obama's a coward, okay? Things that he has done during his time in office has hurt our country tremendously. And the lies that he has told, they're coming back around. Look at all the people that are part of his administration that have been caught in lies. And now you've got an administration, or you have a party in the states where the Democrats, were very involved with what we know of as voter fraud. They're all saying, oh no, they're not going to comply with this new request to release voter information. So the whole Democratic Party is just really, it's really a shell of its former self. It really is. It used to be a party that had a little bit of pride, but if we go back to, back in time, we've got they're the party that created the KKK because of all the hatred that was in that party. It came out of there. They're the party that wanted to keep blacks enslaved despite the fact that a Republican president came along and wanted to free them. They wanted to keep them in place. They wanted to keep slavery, the Jim Crow laws. Every bad thing that has happened to members of the black community has come out of the Democratic Party. So I don't understand why people still keep going and flocking to that party when they keep getting hurt by them. It's really ridiculous, but that is the case. So now we're really seeing, with this election, we're seeing the true colors of members of these Democratic Party. Look how all they want to do is just obstruct. They just want to obstruct the process that is taking place. They're not looking to help. There's nothing about what they're doing at all that indicates wanting to help. So it's a sad, sad state of affairs. But things are changing, and we just have to continue to be patient. Now, if you've listened at all to any of the mainstream news, it's really hard to get away from the discussions about Trump and his tweets and what he tweeted out yesterday. I told you I don't see any problem with it. The man's been picked on by these two and by the left for such a long period of time. How long is a person supposed to sit back and listen to others talk about his wife getting raped or his child being abused or violently injured? How long is a person, a father, a husband, how long is he supposed to sit back and listen to that over and over and over again? It's been well over a year. It's been since he announced he was going to be running for office, which is 2 years now. So it's really despicable that that's the behavior, but how long is a person supposed to tolerate that before they finally say enough is enough? You're not going to pick on me anymore. You're not going to pick on my family. You're going to stop your behavior. So I have no problem with what he did. I know a lot of people are questioning, thinking that somehow Donald Trump's base is going to be upset by that. I'm not upset by that, and I'm consider myself as someone who's been on board with Donald Trump from the beginning. I think this is awesome to see him punching back, stepping up for what's right, because we haven't seen that a lot. And that's why we have all of this screaming going on by those on the left, because they haven't seen a strong male figure up there standing up to the bullying that's going on. Okay? So it's happening, but things are changing. We are making progress in all of this. That I can say for certain. Now, one of the good things that is going on is, despite all of the media talk, the media is so obsessed with that, and I will tell you, in my opinion, the reason the media is going on and on about Trump so much is they're obsessed with him. They're absolutely head over heels, in love, obsessed with Donald Trump. Okay? It's like a bad relationship. They just can't stop being obsessed with him to the point of they're being dangerous in their activities. So they need to get a grip, because they really have lost it. Really have lost it indeed. But the good thing is, while the media is staying fixated and obsessed on all of the little things he's doing, there's a lot of progress being made behind the scenes, and it's happening without a lot of protest, because the media is too busy talking about the tweets that they're really ignoring the important things that are going on, which is fine with me, and I'm sure it's fine with Trump and the whole administration. So here is one of the latest things that is taking place by President Trump and the administration. It says Trump revives 1960s era Space Council. Privatization is going to play an important role, Trump says, and to the first forum to take on Soviet Union in the race to the moon. Okay, President Donald Trump signed an executive order Friday to reestablish the National Space Council, reviving an entity that was formed during the 1960s race between the U.S. and the Soviet Union to reach the moon first. The council, to be led by Vice President Mike Pence, will be a forum to shape the Trump administration's approach to space, as private sector companies, including Elon Musk's SpaceX, and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin emerged as significant players. Space exploration is not only essential to our character as a nation, but our economy and our great nation's security, Trump said Friday at a White House signing ceremony, adding, "I think privatization of certain aspects is going to play an important role." Though Trump hasn't filled a vacancy for NASA administrator, the council could set a new direction for the space program, said Phil Larson, an assistant dean at the University of Colorado's Boulder College of Engineering and Applied Science and an Obama White House space policy official. If they develop a national space policy that grows opportunities in the commercial sector and extends more agile, entrepreneur, and innovative space capabilities to the national security realm, taxpayers will benefit and our country could be safer as a result, Larson said. Vice President Lyndon Johnson was the first chairman of an earlier version of the Space Council when it was championed by President John F. Kennedy in 1961. The council's influence waned and was revived in the 80s before being ended during the Clinton administration. Buzz Aldrin, the former U.S. astronaut who, along with Mission Commander Neil Armstrong, became one of the first two people to walk on the moon in 1969, was at the White House for the signing ceremony. As he signed the order, Trump summoned a signature line of the Toy Story movies, character Buzz, who was inspired by Aldrin, to infinity and beyond. All right, so Donald Trump is out there doing presidential things while those are concerned with all of the tweets that he is making. People want to be concerned and they want to wrap themselves up in all of this. That's fine, because then they don't pay attention to the important things taking place. So, very good, very good, very good. All right, that's some of the basic stuff I wanted to catch up with. We're going to talk about Roswell.
Headline edition, July 8th, 1947.
One day, I was looking to the sky. I saw it. Up above the clouds, it was a silver shiny disc floating high above the ground. Then I saw them waving to me. It was E.T. and his family. Something happened up the soul from the ground. Through the sky, it shot the UFOs down. Roswell, he didn't make it home. Roswell, he didn't make it home.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
One day, I was looking to the sky. I saw a UFO shot down. It was a silver shiny disc broken in pieces on the ground. Then I saw them lying there, bodies scattered everywhere. Something happened, a military show, picked up the pieces, and the case was closed. Roswell, he didn't make it home. Roswell, he didn't make it home.
Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio.
One day, as I was looking to the sky, I began to think for myself, what if another ship comes down to take E.T. home? Then it occurred to me, maybe this is Earth's destiny. Something like this won't happen anymore. No more missiles, no more UFOs down. Roswell, he didn't make it home. Roswell,
Headline Edition will bring you special reports and interviews in a moment.
All right, welcome back. That was the song Roswell. That was the band Ufotry. You may recognize the voice. That's me. That is the song about Roswell and the incident that occurred in Roswell. This is the time of year when people take a look at this incident because this is the weekend when it occurred. As a matter of fact, this weekend going on in Roswell, New Mexico is a festival that's been going on now for, I believe, 22 years. And it's a really cool festival. I've been out there 6 times with Ufotry, performing at their festival in a variety of places. I mean, there's been times when we were out there doing 10 shows over the course of the 3 days. I mean, it was a really awesome experience. So if you have a chance to get out there, you know, go see what's going on, even if you just go online and just look up some of the stuff. But I thought with the Roswell anniversary coming up, I thought it would be really good to get in and check out some of the information about it. So we're going to start here. This is over at Wikipedia. The Roswell UFO Incident. Mid-1947, a United States Air Force balloon crashed at a ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. Following wide interest in the crash flying disc, the U.S. military stated it was merely a conventional weather balloon. Interest subsequently waned until the late 70s when ufologists began promoting a variety of increasingly elaborate conspiracy theories claiming that one or more alien spacecraft had crash-landed and the extraterrestrial occupants had been recovered by the military, who then engaged in a cover-up. In the mid-90s, the U.S. military published 2 reports disclosing the true nature of the crashed object in a nuclear test surveillance balloon from Project Mogul. Nevertheless, the Roswell incident continues to be of interest in popular media, and conspiracy theories surrounding the event persist. Roswell has been described as the world's most famous, most exhaustingly investigated, and thoroughly debunked UFO claim. Okay, now the debunked part, this is a Wikipedia claim that somebody went ahead and edited in here, because I could tell you Roswell has not been debunked. Okay? They wouldn't be having a event every year at Roswell. It was debunked. So that is fake news. Here's a website, Roswell UFO Museum. This is really a very, very interesting museum. A lot of great artifacts and stories in there that you can learn about. It says an unidentified flying object crashed on a ranch northwest of Roswell, New Mexico, sometime during the week of July 1947. Actually, the ranch was about 70 miles outside of Roswell, so it didn't take place in Roswell, but when the metal debris was picked up, the airbase it was taken to was in Roswell. So rancher W.W. Mac Brazel later said he found the debris from the crash as he and the son of Floyd and Loretta Proctor rode their horses out to check on sheep after a fierce thunderstorm the night before. Brazel said that as they rode along, he began to notice unusual pieces of what seemed to be metal debris scattered over a large area. Upon further inspection, he said that he saw a shallow trench several hundred feet long that had been gouged into the ground. Brazel said that he was struck by the unusual properties of the debris, and after dragging large pieces of it off to the shed, he took some of it over to show the Proctors. Miss Proctor, who later moved from the ranch to the house closer in town, said she remembers Brazel showing up with the strange material. The Proctors told Brazel that he might be holding wreckage from an alien spacecraft. The number of UFO sightings had been reported in the United States that summer, or a government project, and that he should report the incident to Chavez County Sheriff George Wilcox. A day or two later, Brazel drove into Roswell, the county seat, and reported the incident to Wilcox, who reported it to Major Jesse Marcel, intelligence officer for the 509th Bomb Group, stationed at Roswell Army Airfield. In their book, A History of UFO Crashes, UFO researcher Don Schmidt and Kevin Randall say that the research shows military radar had been tracking an unidentified flying object in the skies over southern New Mexico for 4 days. On the night of July 4th, 1947, the radar indicated the object had gone down about 30 to 4 miles northwest of Roswell. The book says eyewitness William Whitty, who lived east of Roswell, said he remembered being outside with a father the night of July 4th, 1947, when he saw a brilliant object plunge to the ground. The debris site was closed for several days while the wreckage was cleared, and Schmidt and Randall said that when Woody and his father tried to locate the area of the crash they had seen, Woody said they were stopped by military personnel who ordered them out of the area. Schmidt and Randall said Marcel, after receiving the call from Wilcox and subsequent orders from Colonel William Blanchard of the 509th Commanding Officer, went to investigate Brazel's report. Marcel and Captain Sheridan Cavett, senior counterintelligence corps agent, followed the rancher off-road to his place. They spent the night there, and Marcel inspected a large piece of debris Brazel had dragged from the pasture. Monday morning, July 7th, Marcel took the first step onto the debris field. Marcel would remark later that something must have exploded above the ground and fell. As Brazel, Cavett, and Marcel inspected the field, Marcel was able to determine which direction it came from and which direction it was heading. It was in the pattern. You could tell where it started out and where it ended by how it had thinned out. According to Marcel, the debris was strewn over a wide area, I guess maybe 3/4 of a mile long and a few hundred feet wide. Scattered in the debris were small bits of metal that Marcel held a cigarette lighter to see if it would burn. Along with the metal, Marcel described the weightless I-beam-like structure that were 3/8 inch by 1/4 inch, none of them very long, that would either bend or break. Some of these I-beams had indecipherable characters along the length in 2 colors. Marcel also described metal debris, the thickness of tin foil that was indestructible. After gathering enough debris to fill his staff car, Marcel decided to stop by his home on the way back to the base so he could show his family the unusual debris. He'd never seen anything quite like it. I didn't know what we were picking up, he said. I still don't know what it was. It could not have been part of an aircraft, not part of any kind of weather balloon or experimental balloon. I've seen rockets sent up at White Sands testing grounds. It definitely was not part of an aircraft or missile or rocket. Under hypnosis conducted by John Watkins in May 1990, Jesse Marcel Jr. remembered being awakened by his father that night and following him outside to help carry a large box filled with debris. Once inside, they emptied the container of debris onto the kitchen floor. Jesse Jr. described the lead foil and I-beams. Under hypnosis, he recalled the writing on the I-beams as purple, strange. Never saw anything like it. Different geometric shapes, leaves, and circles. Under questioning, he said the symbols were a shiny purple. They were small. There were many separate figures. This too under hypnotic regression. Marcel said he was saying it was a flying saucer. I asked him what a flying saucer is. I don't know what a flying saucer is. It's a ship. Dad's excited. Marcel reported that he found to Blanchard, showing him pieces of the wreckage, none of which looked like anything Blanchard had ever seen. Meanwhile, Glenn Dennis, a young mortician working at Ballard Funeral Home, received some curious calls one afternoon from RAAF morgue. The base mortuary officer said he was trying to get a hold of some small, hermetically sealed coffins and also wanted to know how to preserve bodies that had been exposed to the elements for a few days and avoid contaminating the tissue. Dennis later said that evening that he drove to the base hospital where he saw large pieces of wreckage with strange engravings on one of the pieces sticking out of the back of a military ambulance. He entered the hospital and was sitting with a nurse he knew when suddenly he was threatened by military police and forced to leave. The next day, Dennis met with the nurse who told him about the bodies discovered with the wreckage and then drew pictures of them on a prescription pad. Within a few days, he was transferred to England. Her whereabouts remain unknown. At 11 a.m., July 8, 1947, Lieutenant Walter Haught, RAAF Public Information Officer, finished a press release Blanchard had ordered him to write, stating that the wreckage of the crash disk had been recovered. He gave copies to the 2 radio stations and both at the local newspapers. By 2:26 p.m., the story was on the Associated Press wire. The Air Force here today announced the flying disc had been found. As calls began to pour into the base from around the world, Lieutenant Robert Shirkley watched the MP carry loaded wreckage onto the C-54 from the 1st Transport Unit. To get a better look, Shirkley stepped around Colonel Blanchard, who was irritated with all the calls coming into the base. Blanchard decided to travel out to the debris field and left instructions that he had gone on leave. Blanchard sent Marcel to Fort Army Air Base, later Carswell Air Base to report to Brig General M. Ramsey, commanding officer of the 8th Air Force. Marcel told Halt later that he had taken some of the debris into Ramsey's office to show him what had been found. The material was displayed on Ramsey's desk for the general when he returned. Upon his return, Ramsey wanted to see the exact location of the debris field, so he and Marcel went to the map room down the hall, but when they returned, the wreckage had been placed on the desk was gone and the weather balloon was spread out on the floor. Major Charles A. Cachon took the now famous photo of Marcel with the weather balloon in Ramsey's office. It was then reported that Ramsey recognized the remains as part of a weather balloon. Brigadier General Thomas Dubose, the Chief of Staff of the 8th Air Force, said it was a cover story, the whole balloon part of it. That was part of the story we were told to give to the public and news, and that was it. Later that afternoon, Hot's original press release was rescinded and an officer from the base retrieved all the copies from the radio stations and the newspaper offices. The next day, July 9th, a second press release was issued stating that the 509th Bomb Group had mistakenly identified a weather balloon as a wreckage of a flying saucer. On July 9th, reports went out that the crashed object was actually a weather balloon. Cleanup crews were busily cleaning the debris. Bud Payne, a rancher at Corona, was trying to round up the stray when he reported by military and carried off the Forster Ranch. Broadcaster Jude Roberts and Walt Whitmore were turned away as they approached the debris field. As the wreckage was brought to the base, it was created and stored in a hangar. Back in town, Walt Whitmore and Lynn Strickland saw their friend Mac Brazel, who was being escorted to the Roswell Daily Record by 3 military officers. He ignored Whitmore and Strickland, which was not at all like Mac, and once he got to the Roswell Daily Record offices, he changed his story. He had claimed that he had found the debris on June 14th. Brazel also mentioned that he had found weather observation devices on 2 other occasions, but what he found this time was no weather balloon. Las Vegas Journal, along with dozens of other newspapers, carried the AP story. Reports of flying saucers whizzing through the sky fell off sharply. Today, as the Army and the Navy began a concentrated campaign to stop the rumors. The story also reported that the AFF headquarters in Washington had delivered a blistering rebuke to officers at Roswell. The military had tried to convince the news media from that day forward that the object found near Roswell was nothing more than a weather balloon. Okay, so the cover-up began, and here it is all these years later, and the cover-up is still in full swing. If you click on this link here that says the museum, kind of take a little tour here to see what's in the museum, the different objects. There's the outside of the museum. Okay, here's this little tour of the museum. See if we can take this. Nope, it's not going to let us do it right here. But if you go and check out these links, you could certainly find about it. Alright, and then I have one other here. This is called the Roswell Incident, and this is something for you to check out. It's the same story over and over, but this is one you could see a lot of names that you recognize that are part of this particular project here. Nick Pope, Josh Gates, Linda Moulton Howe, have Richard Dolan, Chase Kozecki, Chuck Zukowski. Okay, so met a lot of these folks when I was out there. Dave Ziegelmeyer, Race Hopkins, Dave Marler. So a lot of people really investigating this. It's a very, very interesting story that has captured the imagination for a long time. Here's the Roswell site for the events taking place this weekend at their festival. Okay, so very, very interesting. It's a fun experience if you have a chance to get out there. And here's one more. This is called the Roswell Files. So this is Crash Flying Saucer, Alien Base Area 51. The story of the Roswell Incident has it all. UFOs, the Majestic 12 cover-up conspiracy, alien bodies, cover-ups, a missing nurse, the stuff of legends. But like all popular legends, there are as many versions as there are storytellers. The truth about Roswell may be out there, but it has been shouldered by faulty and conflicting rumors, hoaxes, and sometimes deliberate lies. Deliberate lies indeed. Okay, so that's the Roswell Incident. It's been covered up for many, many years, but like anything else, the truth will eventually come out. There's a lot of great researchers. If you turn on, you watch Ancient Aliens, you see a lot of them on there, the various UFO programs, and it's a very, very interesting topic. So that is Roswell. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for being here over the course of this week. I'll be back all next week so we can kind of celebrate the 4th of July and continue to talking about things. But please go back, check out the shows from this week. I talked all about media manipulation, tremendous amount of links there so you can follow it. I've got the links to all the stuff Project Veritas has been doing, staying right on top of what's taking place. If you're at the YouTube channel, subscribe to the videos. Just, you know, that's about it. That's it. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. I will be back. Think about all the good things in America. Next week we're celebrating 4th of July. It's time for all of us to celebrate. This is our country. It doesn't belong to Democrats or Republicans. It belongs to Americans, and that's all of us. And that's the important thing. All right, my friends, have a great weekend. I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.